Hey everyone, Cody from Mac Telecom Networks. 2 weeks ago, I released a video of doing home lab reviews for the people who sent their pictures in. Well, today we're going to do the second one. I received a whole lot of pictures through Twitter, Instagram, Discord, so this is going to be broken up to multiple different videos. After this video, it will be published monthly so we don't overwhelm everybody. If you're new here, please subscribe and hit the bell icon. If you'd like to hire me for network consulting, visit www.mactelecomnetworks.com. You'd find me on Twitter at MacTelecomN, and if you like live streaming and gaming, you could find me now on twitch.tv/Frozil. I'm going to be streaming probably about 4 days a week and talking tech. It's also not too late for you to get in one of my videos. If you want to send your home lab pictures to me so I put them in a future video, you could do so. All my socials are down below. So this first submission is by CSILV, and this is out of my Discord server. And this is a very clean setup. There's really not much I would change. At the top, we have an AC Infinity. I think that's a power conditioner, not 100% sure. We have a patch panel with a bunch of different colored keystone jacks. So really the only thing that I would do is maybe color code the patch cables to it. But the white patch cables do look really good. We have a DAC cable going down to our UDM Pro. This is the Enterprise 24 PoE switch, which is really nice. And then below that, it looks like we have a couple custom made shelves. There's a few Raspberry Pis. And then we have our USW8 PoE. We have this brushing plate, and then we have this other custom mount again, where he has the modem. I think this is a Lutron Light Hub, and then another Raspberry Pi, and we have Home Assistant. They also provided this picture of how they came out with the cabling, which is super clean. We could tell that they took time with putting the Velcro around the cable bundle and bringing it down. And I do like this wall mount as well, so great job. Next up, we have Philip Spindler, and I believe this is from Discord. If I pronounce your name wrong, I'm sorry about that. I'm very bad at names. But this is a really cool rack. It looks like it's a custom-built rack out of wood. At the top, we have our USW aggregation switch. We have a patch panel, which is a keystone, and they put the keystone blanks in, which I'd love to see. Then it looks like we have a USW Pro switch. We have another patch panel, and then we have a UDM Pro or a UDM SE, and also a blank plate. This is a very clean setup. I might just put a piece of Velcro up here and then maybe one down here as well. But really, you don't need that. That's just being picky. They sent one more picture, and I'm not too sure what this is used for, but there's a wood backboard, and we could see a couple holes that are drilled through, and we have all our cabling coming. We have a USW8 switch, and then we have our USG. We have a Cloud Key Generation 1, which is very old. And then it looks like we have a couple Raspberry Pis with the Raspberry Pi display. This is a really nice clean setup, and it looks like a cool project. Now we have a picture from Instagram by Anders, and this is a really cool rack as well. At the top, we have a Canon, which would be their printer, and then it looks like this is an 8U rack. We have our PDU up top, and then either the SE or the Pro, and then we have a patch panel with all these different colored patch cables. It kind of reminds me of Christmas. These patch panels also match the silver of the Ubiquiti. I'm not too sure if they are Ubiquiti patch panels or if they're a different brand. Then we have a 24-port switch, another patch panel, and then the UNVR, and this 2U blank. We also have a server at the bottom and the Eden's UPS. The only thing I would change about this, like I've said in previous installs, is putting in blanks where there aren't any cables going through. But this looks really cool, and I do like the different color coding. Now we have a Twitter submission from handle FedM, and this looks like it's about a 20U rack. I'm not too sure. I'm not going to count the rack spaces. At the top, we could see that they cleanly bundled the cables together, and up here looks like it could be their modem. We have one U that's free, and then we have a Keystone 24-port patch panel with a few cables going into it. We have a 24-port TP-Link switch, and then we have another blank. And I'm not too sure what this thing is right here. I think it is some sort of cable manager. We have some other cables and other devices on a rack, and then we have a QNAP. It looks like a little Raspberry Pi, and then something to monitor the temperature. And at the bottom, we have our PDU. So what would I do to clean this up? Well, I would probably move all the devices a little bit closer together, and I would use shorter patch cables. But that's all a part of the learning experience. Next submission is by Jay from Instagram, and it looks again like we have another 20 to 25U rack. At the top, we have our Keystone patch panel. We have a 48-port switch, and then we have another patch panel below. We have a brushing plate, and then we have what it looks like is an Enterprise 8 PoE switch. Again, below that, we have another blank or a brush panel, and then we have our UDM Pro or our UDM SE. We have an APC battery backup, and then we have a couple Synology NASs. The only thing I would change on this setup is maybe putting some labels where your cables are, but besides that, it's very clean. This is another Instagram submission from JOAO. I'm not too sure how to pronounce that name. At the top, we have a 110 punch panel, and then we have some patch cables going into a TP-Link switch. Below that, this looks like it's another patch panel, and they're all going up to the TP-Link switch. They've bundled some of the cables with Velcro, and then down on the bottom, we have some other cables that are tie wrapped together. We have a 5-base Synology NAS, and then I'm not too sure what this is in the corner, and it looks like at the back there may be a DVR. So the things I would change about this, I would cut these tie wraps off of the bundle, and I would Velcro these cables together so that we don't have too much strain on the cables. I would also get shorter patch cables. These are far too long. It looks like they're 7-footers, when you could probably use a 6-inch or a 1-foot. But really, with the long patch cables, they have managed them pretty well. They're not all over the place. They're just in one neat bundle. And this submission is by Justin Legal, and it's very nice. This is a 12U StarTech rack, and I really like the StarTechs. I myself have a 25U rack. At the top, we have our Keystone patch panel going into an enterprise switch. Then we have this brushing plate, and then under that, we have our aggregation switch. I think below the aggregation switch, this is just a custom-made mount for Raspberry Pis, but I could be wrong. And then we have our UDM Pro or SE, as well as an 8-base Synology NAS, and then we have our UPS. One thing that I would do with this setup is probably put the rack on top of something, maybe a piece of wood, because on the carpet, it could get quite hot. I would also label my cables, but other than that, I really like this setup. This submission is from MZack on Twitter. We have a Unifi access point right on top, and the cables going down into this BIX field. I haven't seen BIX fields like this in a very long time where the Ethernet goes directly onto the BIX. And then at the back, we have our rack. This looks like a little 8U rack with another BIX field in the back. We have a PDU up top, and then we have a 24-port Gen 1 switch. Below that, we just have a blank with something sitting on it. This may be a firewall, could be an SG1100, or maybe a USG. If this is you, let me know what it is. Then we have another switch and maybe some more PDUs. I can't really tell. The picture is a little blurry. For this setup, I would grab all my cables and put them into one rack on a Keystone patch panel. I would totally delete this BIX field. It seems like there is some room inside of the rack that you could put a patch cable into. Maybe you needed to splice the cables together. That's why you're using the BIX panels. Let me know in the comments. We're going to go through 2 more, and that's going to be it for this video. I don't want it to go on too long, but this is a submission from Sook SF from Twitter. At the top, we have a 24-port blank patch panel with our blank keystones in place. That's awesome. We have a UDM Pro or a UDM SE, and we're using these 6-inch patch cables. There's another 24-port Keystone patch panel with the blanks put in place. Below that, we have a Synology NAS, and we have this little shelving unit. And then we have this U-Fiber, I believe that's what it's called, with an APC battery backup. We have the rack that's on casters, as well as this glass front plate. This is super clean, super tidy. There's not a speck of dust in sight. The only thing that I would do is label the patch panel, and that's about it. And the last submission from this video is by Tetratro. I probably really screwed that up. This is an Instagram submission, and this is from Brazil. At the top of the rack, we have this 1U plate that has air vents in it. And then we have the UDM Pro or the SE with a fiber cable going down to our switch. It looks like they're using the Ubiquiti patch cables with the bendable boots on it. I believe I have a video on that. And then we have a silver patch panel, and I think they have white blanks in there. We have this other 1U silver device, which I have no clue what it is. We have a rack mount, and then we have a couple power supplies on the bottom. At the very top, we could see the cable bundle, and that tells you a lot about the install, and that is nice and clean from what I could see. You may just want to blow out the dust at the top of the rack, but that's about it. And maybe label the patch panel where all these cables are going. These videos are a lot of fun to do, and I love how people do their racks differently than I do. Everybody's going to have their own personal preference. I like mine to be minimalistic and using these short 6-inch patch cables. But either way, if you use vertical or horizontal cable managers, that could still look clean, and that might be your personal preference. Like I said in the homelab video 1, I was going to do a giveaway for my favorite homelab for each video. The winner of this video and who will get a G3 Instant is Sook SF. I just find this rack is super clean, and there's really not much to it, and it will make their network functional. If I was to hire somebody as a homeowner to come into my place and set up a network for me, this is exactly how I would want it done. So congratulations. This video series isn't over. I still have a ton in the backlog and you could submit more to me. If you like this type of video, please hit the thumbs up button. If you're new here, subscribe and hit the bell icon. All right, thanks.